Welcome to Pack Talk Podcast, episode 108. Today is Memorial Day, the day where we nationally remember those service members that made the ultimate sacrifice for our country and our way of life. Something that we often forget about during our busy lives. But we must not forget their sacrifice, and we must not forget them. I remember Memorial Day 2014. I was standing at the Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery on Point Loma, San Diego, California, as a new and very young ensign in the Navy. Fort Rosecrans was established in 1882, and over 120,000 Americans are buried there. Just a small number compared to all of the service members who have given their all. When you're standing there at Fort Rosecrans on Point Loma, you're at a high elevation and you can clearly see the San Diego Bay on one side and on the other side the Pacific Ocean, a fitting place for their bodies to rest. So today I'd like to reflect with you on some of the stories of the service members that lay there. First up, we got Staff Sergeant Peter Connor, United States Marine Corps, earned the Medal of Honor. His Medal of Honor citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry in action against enemy Viet Cong forces, at the risk of his life and beyond the call of duty while serving as platoon sergeant, 25 February 1966. Leading his platoon on a search and destroy operation in an area made particularly hazardous by extensive cave and tunnel complexes, Sergeant Connor maneuvered his unit aggressively forward under intermittent enemy small arms fire. Exhibiting particular alertness and keen observation, he spotted an enemy spider hole in placement approximately 15 meters to his front. He pulled the pin from a fragmentation grenade, intending to charge the hole boldly and drop the missile into its depths. Upon pulling the pin, he realized that the firing mechanism was faulty, and that even as he held the safety device firmly in place, the fuse charge was already activated. With only precious seconds to decide, he further realized that he could not cover the distance to the small opening of the spider hole in sufficient time, and that to hurl the deadly bomb in any direction would result in death or injury to some of his comrades tactically deployed near him. Manifesting extraordinary gallantry and with utter disregard for his personal safety, he chose to hold the grenade against his own body in order to absorb the terrific explosion and spare his comrades. His act of extreme valor and selflessness in the face of virtually certain death, although leaving him mortally wounded, spared many of his fellow Marines from death or injury. His gallant action in giving his life in the cause of freedom reflects the highest credit upon the United States Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service." And we know that the Marines are part of the Navy. But what do you think about that story?
It's tough, Equipment fails and cost him his life. So,
what if you're in that situation?
I
don't know what you're going to do until you're there.
No clue, yeah.
What if you're one of the dudes that's standing next to him?
I mean, I
this
feel like
dude
if
just
you're...
put a grenade to his body and basically jumped on a grenade,
Yeah. I just feel like if you're in a firefight or in war, I mean, it's just stuff is happening so fast,
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue what I would do.
You have no idea how to react unless you're actually there.
Exactly. In the moment.
There's a lot of stories of service members doing this throughout time.
Yeah,
but
it's like...
you might think you'll do that until you're actually in that moment. You
never
know what you'll do.
Yeah, it's like milliseconds of... Well, probably maybe in that moment seems like forever, but...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got a very short amount of time to figure out what you want to do. So,
100%. All right, next up we got Lieutenant Junior Grade Albert David, United States Navy, Medal of Honor. His citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty while attached to the USS Pillsbury during the capture of an enemy German submarine off French West Africa, June 4th, 1944. So this is in World War II. Taking a vigorous part in the skillful coordinated attack on the U-505 at the end of a prolonged search by the task group. Lieutenant Junior Grade David boldly led a party from the Pillsbury in boarding the hostile submarine as it circled erratically at 5 or 6 knots on the surface. Fully aware that the U-boat might at any moment sink or be blown up by exploding demolition and scuttling charges, he braved the added danger of enemy gunfire to plunge through the conning tower hatch, and with his small party exerted every effort to keep the ship afloat and assist the succeeding and more fully equipped salvage parties in making the U-505 seaworthy for the long tow across the Atlantic to a U.S. port. By his valiant service during the first successful boarding and capture of an enemy man-of-war on the high seas by the United States Navy since 1815, Lieutenant Junior Grade David contributed materially to the effectiveness of the Battle of the Atlantic and upheld the highest traditions of the U.S. Naval Service. What's that make you think of? That movie U-571, have you seen that?
No, I haven't
What?
seen it.
You haven't seen that movie?
No.
Really?
I haven't
Really?
seen it.
That's a classic.
I haven't seen it. I think the only.
Holy
I've
cow.
only seen the big war movies. You know,
That is a big war
Save It
movie.
Private. I mean, how many big war movies?
That's a naval war classic.
I guess I should reclassify that and say how many big war movies are there? I've only seen a couple. I guess.
I mean, U-571 is a staple.
Never
Come
seen
on,
it.
boys.
Never seen
Come
it.
on.
Sorry to disappoint.
So you have no idea what we're even talking about.
I mean, the U-boats I know from like learning about history and stuff.
Mm-hmm. German
know.
submarines.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and they were a big deal.
Well, they
To go
recently had a
against.
movie come out with Tom Hanks in it. I believe it was Tom Hanks on Apple.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah.
Great Greyhound or something
yeah.
like that, where he's
Mhm.
like the guy in charge of leading the naval force across the Atlantic. But on the way, there's U-boats.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. He's got to get through
trying
'em.
to get them so they can't get across the
Oh,
ocean.
he's hunting them.
Well, he's trying to get basically all the ships across the Atlantic
Mm.
so they can go to the European front,
Mm.
and the U-boats are in the Atlantic trying to stop the
I
ships,
see.
basically blow them up before
Yeah.
they get there. But this guy, took a boarding party, went onto this U-boat that's just doing circles in the water. Basically, I read the background on this one, and the U-boat was kind of damaged. So that what they thought was that the Germans were trying to blow it up, so they were setting demolition charges inside the U-boat as it's circling in the water,
Mm.
and they're about to jump overboard and blow up the U-boat.
Yeah.
But the USS Pillsbury saw this was going on. They went over there. They put the boarding team on to try and keep the U-boat, so they had that enemy intelligence.
Right. Yeah.
They stopped the demolition. They fought with the Germans,
Mhm.
right, on the U-505.
Yeah.
Captured it, towed it to Bermuda.
Dang.
That's where they took it.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
crazy, dude. This
Yeah.
story right here is crazy. And if you've never been at sea before, like if you've never been on a cruise ship or anything, like that water's moving.
Right.
So those ships are moving.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like it's a lot different. Even if you have tactical experience on land, it's different when you're at sea because things are moving. The
Right.
ocean's moving everything.
Yeah.
And I was on a boarding team in the Navy, and it just makes a big difference. Training on land, training on actual water.
Yeah.
You know.
A lot harder than it seems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Way
it's
harder.
super tight on ships.
Right.
The walkways are super
right.
narrow. The doors are super narrow.
Mm-hmm.
You get into a scuffle with somebody, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no room.
Yeah.
So what this dude did is crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Really
wonder
good
how many
story.
other stories there are about World War II that are just not
There's a lot of freaking stories. I just
a
picked
lot
out
of
a couple
small
to
stories
talk
like
about,
that.
but Yeah, stories like this. World War II was crazy.
Yeah. There's so much going on.
Vietnam was crazy.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
World War I was crazy. That's trench warfare.
Mm-hmm. That one's probably the most
Where
gruesome.
you're just did you watch some of those recent movies about World War
I know what you're talking about. I haven't watched them though.
I haven't watched
But
them.
I mean, World War I is the biggest thing for me. Is with the trench warfare, you got not only the fighting but all of the ailments.
Mm.
You got trench foot,
Oh yeah.
and that'll just kill you.
Oh, yeah.
Because your body will
Infected
get
your body.
infected, and
Mhm.
you're living in mud. You got no food, you know, and
you pop your head up over the top of the trench, you're getting shot.
Yeah.
There's minefields everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal.
That's a brutal war.
Absolutely.
That war is brutal.
Yeah.
And they would also do like biological warfare and throw gases over.
Yeah, the gas and all that.
I think chlorine gas was being used back then.
Mustard gas, all that. I don't know if that was World War II or not.
That shit's crazy. You know?
Yeah.
All right, moving on here. I didn't just pick a bunch of Navy people either for this list. It just that cemetery has a lot of Navy people in it.
Right.
All right, Ensign Herbert Jones, United States Navy Medal of Honor. His citation reads, "For conspicuous devotion to duty, extraordinary courage, and complete disregard of his own life, above and beyond the call of duty, during the attack on the fleet in Pearl Harbor by Japanese forces on 7 December 1941. Ensign Jones organized and led a party which was supplying ammunition to the anti-aircraft battery of the USS California after the mechanical hoists were put out of action when he was fatally wounded by a bomb explosion. When 2 men attempted to take him from the area which was on fire, he refused to let them do so, saying in words to the effect, 'Leave me alone. I am done for. Get out of here before the magazines go off.'" So, painting the picture here, this guy, Pearl Harbor's under attack. This guy's helping supply ammunition to an anti-aircraft machine gun, essentially, on a ship. Things started to happen. Explosions started. Bombs are hitting the ship. And basically the ship's on fire and things are about to blow up. And this dude, people are trying to grab him. He said, "Leave me alone. Get out of here. Save yourself before this thing blows up." That's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, it's crazy to think about Pearl Harbor. You
Yeah,
know?
everything's getting destroyed.
Well, you know, they're just sitting there. They're chilling.
Yeah.
And then they
out of nowhere.
Back in the day, you know, the story is that they had that radar go off, and like one guy was like, "Hey, there's something happening." People are like, "No, nothing's happening." You know, so already time's going by. These airplanes are getting really close.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, something's happening." They're like, "Oh shit, something is happening." Boom, they're getting hit. Bombs everywhere, dude.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor, whether you're on a ship or ashore, bombs just going off everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And now you got to try and fight, so now you got to try and shoot these planes out of the sky, which was a lot of World War II, you know, planes.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're trying to shoot the planes out of the sky with machine guns. You don't have missiles that have target locks or anything. It's just all machine gun.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's the old way of fighting.
Then they have the kamikaze pilots that will just blow themselves up. They'll just ram their plane into whatever's going on.
Yeah,
you know, to blow things up.
It's just super serious.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean.
But if you can try to put yourself in like the shoes of somebody that's there,
right?
Can you imagine? Shit's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, just explosions everywhere. I mean, it's not a pretty picture. So you know.
Explosions.
You don't want to be in those boots, you know. But the people who were, you know.
World War II, World War I, Vietnam, crazy, dude. I mean, all wars. None of them are fun to be in.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Lieutenant Donald Gary, United States Navy Medal of Honor. His citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty, as an engineering officer attached to the USS Franklin, when that vessel was fiercely attacked by enemy aircraft during the operations against the Japanese home islands near Kobe, Japan, March 19th, 1945. Stationed on the third deck when the ship was rocked by a series of violent explosions set off in her own ready bombs, rockets, and ammunition by the hostile attack." So just pause right there. So this ship is out in the middle of the ocean. You got nothing around you. You're under attack by enemy aircraft, World War II again. And now there's some explosions that hit the ship, making the ship's own bombs and ammo start blowing up. So your own ship's blowing up from the inside out, basically.
Yeah.
And this is like a huge ship, you know?
Right.
Lieutenant Gary unhesitantly risked his life to assist several 300 men trapped in a messing compartment filled with smoke and with no apparent egress. So these 300 guys, they were trapped in this area filling up with smoke from the fire. There's no way out. And they were probably not ship's company. Like on these bigger ships, you generally have people that embark on the ship for the deployment. Then you have people that are actually crew of the ship. And the ship's crew know the ship better than the people that are just riding the ship, essentially.
Right.
As the imperiled men below decks became increasingly panic-stricken under the raging fury of incessant explosions, so the explosions are continuing on, he confidently assured them that he would find a means of effecting their release, and, groping through the dark, debris-filled corridors, ultimately discovered an escape way. Staunchly determined, he struggled back to the messing compartment 3 times despite menacing flames, flooding water, and the ominous threat of sudden additional explosions. On each occasion, calmly leading his men through the blanketing pall of smoke until the last one had been saved. Selfless in his concern for his ship and his fellows, he constantly rallied others about him, repeatedly organized and led firefighting parties into the blazing inferno on the flight deck, and when fire rooms 1 and 2 were found to be inoperable, entered the number 3 fire room and directed the raising of steam in 1 boiler in the face of extreme difficulty and hazard. An inspiring and courageous leader, Lieutenant Gary rendered self-sacrificing service under the most perilous conditions, and by his heroic initiative, fortitude, and valor, was responsible for the saving of several hundred lives. His conduct throughout reflects the highest credit upon himself and upon the United States Naval Service. So this guy, Lieutenant Gary, he's on a large ship. They're off the coast of Japan, right? When we're doing operations against Japan, because they attacked Pearl Harbor, so this is after Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Getting attacked by enemy aircraft, so Japanese aircraft. They're shooting at the ship. They're dropping bombs on the ship, kamikaze in the ship, making the ship's own bombs, rockets, and ammunition start blowing up. You know, the ship is now probably sinking to some degree, tilting in the water, smoking, fire, everything. We got these 300 guys trapped. He finds a way to get them out of the area that they're trapped in, which also water's coming into the ship. Because as the sides of the ship get blown off, water's coming in.
Right.
So now the ship's sinking more.
Right.
And once he gets all these guys out of the place that they're trapped in, now the ship's on fire. When your ship's on fire, you got to put that fire out because you're living on the ship, you know?
Yeah.
There's nothing around you, no land. You can't see land.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And generally, if you're on a ship and you look out to the horizon's about 12 miles. Generally.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And so if you're standing on the on the ship, you look out to see the horizon. Even if you saw land at the horizon, that's over 12 miles. You got to swim to get there.
Yeah, it's too far. Yeah.
So anyway, this dude's starting to put out fires. Out on the ship, there's several fire rooms where they keep firefighting supplies and everything.
Yeah. 2
of them don't work. He goes to the third one. He brings one of the engines on board, you know, up to speed so they can use it. And he's just getting after it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He's
trying
just
to save the ship, trying to save people. So that's crazy to think about, especially if you've been on a ship, even if you've been on a cruise ship. You're out there in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
Which I was on a cruise recently.
Right.
But you're on a cruise ship. If you ever go on a cruise ship or next time you do go on a cruise ship, go up to the top deck, look out around you when you're in the middle of the ocean, and just think about these guys that we're talking about. There's nothing around you. The water, you know how the ocean is, it's mysterious.
Yeah.
You look down, you can't see nothing.
Yeah.
Except that big shark swimming by.
You're stranded. Yeah.
You know? So you got to save that ship. You got to survive.
Yeah.
You know, that's what this guy did. So.
Badass.
Actually, the first ship that I was stationed on in the Navy was the USS Gary, named after this guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. USS Gary, FFG 51, which was a frigate, but named after Lieutenant Gary.
So this dude's a legend.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of the Medal of Honor guys will get ships named after.
Oh, okay. I got you.
But yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
So, anyway, just a couple stories to share. What are your thoughts on any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm no no military experience or anything like that, you know, but
Yeah, but you've seen movies.
movies
You've
and
played video games.
yeah.
So you can.
So I mean, you know,
if you can try to put yourself
yeah.
in their shoes.
Yeah, that's the if you can put yourself in those people's shoes. I mean, it's kind of like it depends how you look at it. It can be a little depressing because these dudes they probably know, like, that's it.
Well, back in then,
you know?
like World War I, World War II,
Yeah.
Vietnam, high risk of death.
Yeah.
You know.
Which is like some of these guys, you know, I think World War II, you were getting drafted.
Yeah.
So even if you didn't want to fight, you didn't have a choice.
You're going. And
you're being forced into situations, and it's survive or die.
Right.
And a lot of the guys, like the guy with the grenade or any of these dudes, you know, they got to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a split-second decision.
Well, I think that's more of a genetic decision.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's not like...
Some guys maybe won't, right?
Right. Well, you've seen Saving Private Ryan, right?
Yeah.
Most people have probably seen Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
It seems to be a super realistic movie.
Yeah.
But, you know, that Normandy Beach that they do.
Normandy Beach, or the scene at the end of the movie when they're in the village. I mean, I can't watch that scene.
Really?
Because, I watched it when I was like 15, and I was like, you know.
But that shit's brutal. I mean, that movie shows the brutality.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is, it's just like, it's brutal. It's rough to watch, you know? And it's not fun. And these dudes, after they do their fighting, if they get to come home, you know, they're stuck with these images or their decisions for whatever happens, you know, because they didn't have a choice. You know, it's fight or die.
Right.
So, and you're trying to save your friends, your other fellow soldiers, I don't know what you call them, servicemen, whatever. And, you know, so it's definitely hard to wrap your head around, especially if you don't, you know, serve in the military. I'm sure if you serve or, you know, you have a little bit, probably more of a connection because you're in those areas, in those spaces.
But even if you do serve, like, you know, I served and I never was in situations like these
right.
guys.
But you could probably correlate or connect yourself a little bit better to their stories.
Yeah, I mean, I
can
understand
because you were on a ship
a little bit,
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, this guy's on a ship in the middle of nowhere, and his ship's, like, on fire, everything exploding. He's probably like, this is, you know, we're going to sink with this ship, you know. And everyone on this ship's probably going to die.
Well, you can either think, hey, this ship's sinking, we're all going to die, or you can say, we got to do something to try and survive this.
Right, exactly.
Or to try and win.
Yeah.
But you watch movies like Saving Private Ryan, that Normandy Beach scene, I think they showed guys that were, like, freaking out. And they're just hiding.
Yeah.
They're just hiding. They're not taking any action.
Right.
You know, than like Tom Hanks and those guys that are playing the soldier.
But also, I mean, it's not a... I mean, it is like you have to just, if you're talking about Normandy, I just feel like you either have to run up that beach and whatever happens, happens. And I feel like for probably 70% of the people, they got killed from the machine guns just raining hell on them.
Oh, yeah. Well, the water was red that day.
And the water, and, you know, you're getting killed on your boat before you even touch the beach.
Oh, yeah.
And so the dudes that are, like, freaking out, I could understand that, especially if you didn't even want to fight or you thought you could fight. And, you know, your brain snaps or something like that. Your brain can't handle it. I mean, it's not like a... I mean, there's brave soldiers. Like, the people who took the beach are definitely brave.
Right.
Because if you got machine guns, I mean, it's hard to imagine now. But if you just have bullets flying all around you, dudes are getting killed left and right of you, there's blood everywhere. I mean, that's just probably an image you'll never be able to get out of your brain.
Hit that fight or flight.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, that traumatic experience.
Yeah.
PTSD.
Right.
You know, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Back then, you couldn't really talk about it.
Right.
You know, you're in World War II, you're in Vietnam.
Yeah.
You don't talk about your PTSD.
Yeah.
Thankfully, nowadays, I think it's becoming more of a thing that people are
more
allowed
accepted.
to talk about. Right. Accepted that people can talk about. And you don't have to be in direct combat to have PTSD. You can get it from different things.
Right.
But the other thing, too, that they didn't know back then that they're realizing more now is TBI, traumatic brain injury. You can get TBIs from concussive experiences, explosions, even shooting a gun.
Right.
Just as much as you would shoot it being an infantry guy or some of these other units.
Mm-hmm.
That in of itself can do little micro damages to your brain that add up over time.
Yeah.
And even sports players, I think, like football guys.
Right. Well, you get hit hard.
Right.
Your brain is moving around in your skull.
Right.
So
this is a big deal these days.
Yeah.
In the military, and they're having more protocols and things to help alleviate that, treatments. And believe it or not, psychedelics actually is a treatment for TBI and PTSD.
Yeah, I've heard them.
And there's
talking about
legit organizations. It's not like you just go to your friend's house and start doing some psychedelics. There's legit organizations that have a doctor supervise it. They microdose it, and they literally will see people overcome their PTSD, and they're literally seeing the TBIs getting healed. The brain is becoming healed from the psychedelics.
Yeah.
And the psychedelics in general are like naturally occurring things.
Right. Yeah.
So this is becoming more of a mainstream way to help treat some of these things these days. Thankfully, it can be talked about.
Right.
Thankfully, people are pushing to make this more of a well-known and respected treatment option for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work to do. I don't know if it's officially legal in the United States yet. I think that most of the veterans have to go to facilities in other countries to actually get it done.
Yeah,
the treatment done. Mm-hmm. But I've listened to some of the stories, and it's crazy.
Well, it's like when we had Mr. I think it was Roger, when we had him on last year. Mm-hmm. He was kind of saying the same things about after he came back from Vietnam.
Well, he was in Vietnam.
They didn't talk about it, and it was affecting him big time.
Still affects him to this day.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Continue to be addressed.
Right. Also, you have guys like him. He saw a lot of combat, saw a lot of bad stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Did some stuff that he had to do.
Uh-huh.
And sticks with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for him, too, losing his friends, the guys that he served with.
Right.
Sticks with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And back then, it's not okay to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, it's more okay to talk about it. But if you were experiencing everything back then, you're not allowed to talk about this stuff. And nowadays, it's like you can talk about it. You still have that old school mentality. I can't talk about this. I can't talk about this.
Yeah, because it's been with you for so long.
Right. It's like built into your habit not to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he was able to talk a little bit to us on the podcast. And thinking back a couple years ago, Memorial Day with Teddy, the one-leg savage,
Yeah.
After that podcast, he said that was really hard to do, to talk.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys where it's their first time talking, like Teddy, Roger, their first time talking about it for real is like on this podcast.
Right.
It's kind of hard for them to talk, so their stories are kind of mixed up a little bit.
Yeah, right.
But, I've seen at least Teddy after he did our podcast, he did a couple more, he did some more speaking, and the story becomes more fluid for him.
Right.
It's easier for him to talk about.
Yeah.
He's accepted, like, okay, I can actually talk about this.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference.
I just let you know that even these dudes are, with Mr. Roger, it was probably 20, 30 years of that, and then with Teddy, who knows how long with his, but they're still carrying the stories with them. They're still reliving the memories.
Right.
And it's not an easy thing to get over.
Something that sticks with you.
Yeah.
And Teddy, he lost his leg in the Army.
Yeah.
Mr. Roger. In Vietnam, they were using Agent Orange. Now he's on oxygen.
Right.
So these kind of things stick with you.
Yeah, yeah. Just
daily
reminders for them, unfortunately.
Well, like we talked about with Teddy and like we talked about with Mr. Roger, is what we do today honors those people that gave their life so that we have the freedoms that we have.
Right.
And we have a lot of listeners that are from other countries.
Yeah.
You can look back at your country's history.
Yeah.
And the people that served your country too.
Mm-hmm.
And you can honor them by living your best life.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself thinking negatively, thinking about you're down in the dumps, you go back, you review some of these stories of what these people did, in times of hardship, and you're like, hey, I can definitely do better.
Right.
I can definitely live a better life.
Right.
Not be down in the dumps, not be depressed, not be anxious.
Right.
And of course, you got to work at those things.
Mm-hmm.
You might need some help, professional help, but you can work through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Live your best life possible to honor those that gave their life for us. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
I was just listening to a story. A book recently came out about a female senior chief in the Navy. She was intelligence. She was a linguist, so she could speak different languages. But she was deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan, I believe. And, you know, she died in combat. Mm-hmm. She's a female with special operations, like, you know, SEAL team guys and all that. And so don't think it's just dudes.
Right.
You know, and don't think you have to be an infantry guy or a special operations guy. There's a lot of supporting roles like intelligence, linguists, you know, that are out on the front lines doing this stuff, trying to collect intel, trying to get information.
Right.
And, you know, they get caught up in some crossfire.
Yeah.
Or they get caught up by, nowadays the big thing is IEDs, bombs. Mm-hmm. And that was a couple of years ago, and they're still here today. And now, big time drones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You look at the wars going on right now. They're using drones to drop bombs on people.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, or grenades. Quiet. I saw one in Russia where they dropped a grenade from a drone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. That stuff's scary.
Yeah.
You know, because drones are quiet for the most part till they're right on you.
Right.
And they're hovering. They got you. You try to hide behind something, they just drive down. Boom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So the warfare has changed incredibly. And if you're in the war today, that's happening to you. Can you imagine you're getting chased by a drone that explodes?
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing training for that, you know. I don't know how you get out of that situation.
I mean, you see the footage of the Ukraine and Russian guys fighting.
Right.
And, you know, I've seen footage of the soldier freaking out because the drone's chasing him.
Yeah. And
they're shooting at it with a rifle or a shotgun or whatever they can to get that drone to get away from them or blow it up.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the trauma in the brain going through that.
Mm-hmm.
And that being a part of warfare these days is crazy, you know?
Yeah.
So, crazy to think about. But I also want to talk a little bit about some of the dogs that have been in war, because dogs have been a big part of warfare throughout time, you know, big time. World War II, World War I, Vietnam, current wars. I mean, even back in the Civil War, there were dogs.
Right.
And I know that in the Vietnam War alone, dogs were credited with lowering the American death toll by 10,000. 10,000 people saved at least by using dogs. Dogs were used as sentries. You know, if you're sleeping in a foxhole, your dog is awake, keeping an eye out for you, so you can actually sleep. That's crazy. That's legit.
Right.
You know, scouts, tracking, messengers, delivering messages from one unit to another unit. You don't have your radio's not working, your radio got blown up, you can send your dog with a note. That's crazy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Detecting the bombs, you know, these kind of things, or detecting enemies. And I know that in Vietnam too, because the war dogs were such a game changer, the Viet Cong were actually offering bounties for killing dogs. Which is crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah. All kinds of breeds have been used in war. German Shepherds, Dobermans, Labradors, Belgian Malinois, sheepdogs, collies, schnauzers, mutts, pit bulls. Yeah, I got a story of a pit bull we'll go through. But many breeds to serve alongside our service members. And like I said, if you're a listener from another country, you know, look into your country's history. Guarantee there's some dogs there.
Yeah.
One of the dogs was named Kurt. Kurt was a Doberman who served in World War I. He saved the lives of over 250 Marines when he alerted them to a massive Japanese force that was out ahead of them. And Kurt was badly injured in the ensuing attack, along with his handler, who was PFC Alan Jacobson. And Alan Jacobson is said to have refused treatment until Kurt had been evacuated. And Kurt was killed in action in Guam in 1944. So that's World War II. So he actually was in World War I, then stayed until World War II.
Dang.
Yeah, back then, Dobermans, German Shepherds, they were the main breeds that they were using. And if you look on like Google and you type in some of this stuff, like the old school black and white training videos, pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of Dobermans in World War II walking with their units or whatever, you know.
Unfortunately, I believe that in Vietnam, they left a bunch of dogs at the end of the war. They just left them in Vietnam because they didn't have room or they didn't want to try and deal with bringing them back.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
That sucks.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be letting that happen.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure a lot of people were upset, you know. Not a good call. All right, Sally Ann Jarrett was a pit bull, served with the Pennsylvania Infantry during the Civil War. I don't know exactly what she did, but I know there's a monument for her in Pennsylvania.
Really?
But pit bull, yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Sergeant Stubby is kind of a more popular one that a lot of people know about, but Sergeant Stubby was a mixed breed, mostly Boston Terrier, that served in World War I, known for alerting his troops to incoming gas attacks, catching German spies, and boosted morale, of course.
And just Boston Terrier, I'm just picturing him doing
dog.
All this badass shit.
That's a small dog,
yeah.
But he can still detect things.
Yeah, well, the gas,
a lot of people think war dogs.
Smell, right?
Yeah, a lot of people think war dogs are like biting dogs, not necessarily
Well,
the case.
no, yeah, I'm not even thinking that. I'm thinking with the gas, he's probably can detect it with his scent.
Oh, yeah.
But he's catching German spies. I'm wondering how he's doing that.
Smelling.
He just smells them out, and then he's a little guy just getting to work.
He's a little guy. He can get in and out of little places.
I like that. I like that.
I think there's a statue of him, too.
Sergeant Stubby.
World War I, though. That's crazy. He was in the trenches with the boys.
Yeah, I know. That's badass.
Nemo was a German Shepherd serving in Vietnam. He lost an eye in combat. I mean, Vietnam was crazy, too. Cooper, Yellow Lab, served in Iraq, detecting firearms, ammunition, and explosives, saving countless lives. Which, you know, in the war in Iraq, that was a big deal. Again, the IEDs.
Everything's hidden.
Right, improvised explosive device hidden.
Right.
The entryways on the ground. You got to have dogs out there detecting these things, you know.
Dang.
Layla was a Belgian Malinois, served in Afghanistan, saving many lives with her detection and apprehension skills, despite taking gunfire to her shoulder. So apprehension is when they're biting somebody.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure the story of Layla is that they were inside of a building. She detected some bad guys in an area, went ahead and went over there to attack them, got shot by an AK-47 4 times in the shoulder.
Dang.
Which that's a pretty big round.
Yeah.
And she ended up killing the guy that was shooting him.
Dang. Talk about a soldier.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow.
I don't know if she's still alive or not. Caesar, German Shepherd, served as a messenger dog and sentry dog in World War II. Took a round from a Japanese sniper, but survived. Sniper got him.
I'm thinking these enemy troops probably see these dogs running or doing stuff, and they're like, they gotta kill that dog.
Yeah,
because that thing is gonna screw them over.
That, or maybe it's delivering a message, like this dog Caesar, delivering messages between units,
trying to intercept.
So let me take out the dog, and they can't get the message.
Yeah.
You know, or a sentry dog. The dog's standing there on watch, basically. Shoot that dog, the watch is down.
Yeah.
You know. Crazy to think about. You know? Sandy, a messenger dog in World War II, who saved a unit by getting a message out requesting artillery fire. So I guess this unit, I'm pretty sure the story with this one is with Sandy. She was with their unit. Their radio went out or something, radio malfunction. They had no way of communicating. They needed help. So they sent her with a message to an artillery unit. She got it to them, saved the unit because the artillery was able to fire. That's crazy.
It's like, you know how they use like pigeon. I know in World War II or World War I they use pigeons, messenger pigeons, to do the same thing, but they got dogs doing it too. You know.
You know who's big into messenger pigeon and pigeon racing? Michael Ellis.
Oh really?
Yeah. It's one of his hobbies.
What the heck?
He's got like 300 or something. At least he did whenever I was at his school.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. All right, last dog we'll talk about is Butch, Doberman, sentry dog in World War II, allowing the service members he served with to get some rest while he was on duty. And there's a picture of him on Google, but basically there's a soldier sleeping in a foxhole, and he's just standing, his head's barely out, and he's just, you know, keeping an eye out.
Yeah.
That's something crazy to think about. Like, hey, you can actually get some sleep because your dog is on the watch. And it also talks to the bond of the dog and the human. I trust this dog to know what he's supposed to do, so that I can actually rest.
So I was going to say the handler-dog relationship is strong in that scenario right there.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, there's so many stories out there. You could spend all day and more going through a bunch of stories, but hopefully covering a couple today gives you some ideas, gives you some thoughts, allows you to remember that you need to reflect on these stories. You know, if you got some free time, look it up on Google.
Yeah.
Just look up service member stories, World War II. Look up dogs, World War II, whatever. Start learning about this stuff, honoring them with your life, living the best life you can, you know, and just imagine the shit that these people went through and what they did so that we can live the life we're living today. So we need to make sure we're doing our best to set ourselves up and our families and our future generations up for a great future, because we don't want everything that they've done to go to waste, you know, so we need to do our part.
Yeah.
So, got any closing thoughts on any of that?
This history can be more fascinating than people probably think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the stories are crazy.
That's probably the only thing I got to say on that.
Yeah. All right, as we wrap this up real quick, let's just talk about some of our affiliates. Canine Revolution Dog Training. We're here for you. Dog training. We do have veteran discounts. So you can hit us up, 843-213-2676. You can also email us, info@caninerevolutiondogtraining.com. We're supporting dog owners and families across the United States and from other countries. We just coordinated with someone from Canada, so we're talking to somebody from Canada right now. But we're here to support. You know, we got board and train programs, we got private lesson programs, we got virtual lesson programs. We can set up a group seminar. You know, we could do anything customized. We just want to support you guys and help you meet your needs, okay? And we do regularly reflect on what people have done before us, you know, what service members have done. That's one of the reasons why we do this podcast episode every year. We also do at least one veteran episode every year to get some veteran stories. So we're heavily focused on supporting those who have supported our country. So if you're a veteran, you get the veteran discount. Active duty, obviously. If you're serving in other capacities, serving our communities as a teacher, law enforcement, first responder, you know, same goes to you. And we appreciate what all you guys have done and what your families have done as well. Our next affiliate, Canine Revolution Apparel. If you want some Canine Revolution shirts, dog shirts, good to go shirts, hoodies, mugs, rain jackets. I got my rain jacket on today.
Looking good.
Comfortable.
Yep.
You know, check that out on the Amazon, Canine Revolution Apparel. And you can go to the link below to check that out. Next up, we got JOCKOFUEL. JOCKOFUEL is owned by Jocko.
Is it?
Yeah. Who was a Navy SEAL commander in the Battle of Ramadi. And he's got a podcast, Jocko Podcast, where he talks about a lot of veteran stories, which is very interesting if you want to listen to more of those. But JOCKOFUEL, supplements for you, supplements to support you. And if you're going to live your best life, you need to make sure your nutrition is good to go. You need to make sure you're getting that protein in, those greens.
I just picked up some pre-workout.
Did you?
Yeah.
Good to go.
Had to re-up.
Go to JOCKOFUEL.com, discount code Canine Revolution for 10% off. And you'll be supporting yourself.
Yeah.
Making yourself good to go.
And the podcast.
And the podcast. Definitely the podcast. All right, next up we got Canine Super Supplements. Supplements for your dog, made in America. You got a couple big ones on Canine Super Supplements. You got the joint support, which I recommend for everybody. You got the multivitamin, your dog's immunity. You got the weight gainer. If your dog needs some help gaining weight, gaining muscle, you can get that. We've got a dog right now who came into training underweight. Now he's looking good because he's on the weight gainer.
Yeah.
They got the puppy formula, so you guys can check those out. Basically raw food in a powder form. Good for your dog.
Good to
Good
go.
for you.
Yeah.
Good for your dog.
Yeah.
CanineSuperSupplements.com. Discount code Canine Revolution for 15% off. That's the letter K, number 9, supersupplements.com. Discount code Canine Revolution. You can click the link below as well. But I definitely recommend every dog at least be on the joint support because you're not going to usually find those elements that are going to help your dog in the normal diet. So you need to supplement that. Last but not least, we got We Feed Raw. WeFeedRaw.com. Discount code Canine Revolution. This is raw food for your dog. Raw food formulated specifically for your dog. So check that out. I got my dogs on the red meat. I got them on the beef, the lamb, the venison options.
Yeah.
All good options.
All good to go.
All good options.
All good to go.
They got the organ meats implemented. They got the meaty bone implemented. All in an easy-to-use package for your dog, delivered to you at your door. So it's super easy, super convenient, and super good for your dogs.
Per Dr. Timmerman.
Dr. Timmerman.
If you get on the raw diet, it might fix a lot of the, I wouldn't say ailments, but maybe some of the issues your dog is having.
He said everything.
Yeah.
He said that making your dog have an optimal diet, a raw diet, which is the optimal diet for a dog,
right,
is going to enable your dog's body to take better care of itself, heal itself, take care of itself. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
So get on the train.
So he said, get on raw.
Yeah. He did. Canine Revolution is your code.
Yeah. And if we know that budget can be a concern, so if budget's a concern, get a little bit of raw.
Yeah.
You know,
so mix it in with your kibble.
We need to get away from the processed food.
Mix it in with your kibble.
The kibble's not helping our dog.
Yeah.
But, from budget concerns, sometimes we got to use it.
Yeah.
So we can use some kibble with some raw and the Canine Super Supplements. Now you got the package for your dog. You're getting your dog off on the right foot. And, Dr. Timmerman also mentioned throw some eggs in there.
Yeah.
Throw some sardines in there.
Yeah.
Implement raw in your dog's diet. You will see benefit. I know I've seen it with my own dogs for sure, 100%. All right, please rate us and review us on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube. We appreciate that. Definitely helps us beat the algorithm.
I see you 5 stars on Apple Podcast. I see you.
We appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you.
You're helping us.
And I'm reading them.
Oh, yeah. What are they saying?
Some guy put your catchphrase in there.
What?
You know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
He said, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. He just said it like that.
Out.
But it gave us 5 stars.
Well,
approved, but just with a little humor.
The people from Canada, they reached out via email. And they said, hope you're good to go for a chat.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shoot.
The lingo's catching on.
Yeah, they got the lingo.
The lingo's finally catching on.
They're getting the lingo.
We should print some T-shirts with good to go on it.
Don't forget, check out Canine Revolution Dog Training and Pack Talk Podcast on YouTube and your favorite social media. Hit us up if you need anything. Also, again, Memorial Day. One day a year. It's nationally recognized. But you can reflect. You can remember more than just on one day a year.
Yeah.
So hopefully these stories, you learned something. You got to think about something. But never forget, honor those that gave the ultimate sacrifice with your life and what you're doing. And until next time, this is Pack Talk Podcast.